Welcome to Savor the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole. This is Vanessa.
Hello. Sup?
Hello. How are you doing?
Oh, great. We don't usually do morning time recordings, so I feel like we're on a different level right now.
Like different wavelengths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Than usual. So we'll see.
Morning time energy.
Yes.
Like my coffee is fresh.
That's right.
I haven't gone to the gym yet. I haven't done a whole day's worth of slogging through work.
Right.
So
our energy is up.
Yes. So speaking of coffee, I'm just going to start out really quick.
Yeah.
In podcast time, this week is a big week because one, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, future Vanessa. And also it is Valentine's Day this week. So all of the stores have their Valentine's stuff out. And they have white chocolate raspberry coffee creamer.
Ooh, that sounds delightful.
Chobani has it. And I think they had it last year too, and it's delicious. So I grabbed it, and that's what I'm drinking this morning.
That is usually what I order from when I go to Winans. I always get a white chocolate raspberry latte, and it is always delicious. So
yes. I wish I put more creamer in it, but I could still taste the white chocolate and the raspberry. So I guess, and you could tell by the like, not the listeners, but if you're watching this, you can tell by the color of my coffee that it is actually mostly creamer. So
still not quite as strong a flavor as you need.
No, it's the special ones I want to be all flavor.
Yeah, that's fair. That's funny. Yes, it's my birthday this week, and I can't believe I'm going to be 40.
I know.
I can't believe. I mean, I don't, like I've talked about before, I feel like 40 is like whatever, it's just a number, but it's just weird to be actually saying I am 40. Like, it just is such a weird feeling.
I know. It's always funny because, like, 6 months ago, Nicole, because I'm shortly following you in the 40-year-old train. So, like, 6 months ago, Nicole was like, whatever, it's 40. But now that it's getting closer, I'm like, man, I'll be 40 in like a month. Like, I need to buy something crazy.
I feel like that's kind of what I've been trying to avoid, is like doing something wild. I don't know. I feel like we'll see what happens. In a couple weeks, I'll report back and let you know
what crazy purchase you have and what I have to look forward to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think this is like our first full week of you like not being at the same job as me, you not being in the same location as me. So many things. So how's it going?
Good. Minus you barely texted me this week.
What?
And yesterday I had half mental breakdown because like I would text you and you'd be like, yep. And I'd be like, I know she's not mad, but she could be.
No. Yesterday you can totally blame Breaking Dawn and my fatigue. Somehow I don't know what happened, but yesterday I could not keep my eyes open. We're not going to say that it's because of Breaking Dawn, but
it could be.
It could be. But yeah, so I like slept for a couple hours and then I was trying to get through Breaking Dawn as fast as possible. And so my phone was just not near me. Yeah. So I apologize.
That's okay. Like, we've had this conversation many times. Every time you don't text me back within like 10 minutes, I'm like,
she hates me now.
Where's Vanessa?
Yes.
I didn't think it would take you just this short of time to stop talking to me.
Like a half a week.
Right.
No, I'm so sad. I'm so happy that I'm going to see you tomorrow. I
know.
Yes, I'm very, very sad. And now the fact that we're probably going to have to be going back into the office full time, I'm even more sad that you're not around.
I know.
I don't get to hang out with you.
I know. They need to give you like I don't know, what is it, a waiver or something.
Yeah, that would be delightful. Let's do that. Let's cross our fingers for that happening.
That'd be great. So,
yeah.
What about the rest of the week? Do you anything else throughout the week?
No.
I know this is an Onyx Storm week, right?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much I worked a couple of days. I took Tuesday off and read the entire day. Literally woke up at like 3. No. So first I woke up at 2 and I was like, there's no way I'm reading right now. I will fall asleep. So I fell back asleep. I woke up at like 3:30 and I was like, okay. So I read for like 45 minutes and then I took a little nap for about 2 hours, I think. And then from that point on, I literally read the rest of the day, only taking breaks for like meals and potty breaks. And I read until midnight.
Wow.
And when I stopped at midnight, I had 50 pages left. And I was like, you know what? These last 50 pages are going to be crazy. I already know it. I have to be fully cognizant. I cannot read them when I'm half asleep. And so I put it down. I went to sleep. And as soon as I woke up on Wednesday morning, I finished the last 50 pages. So that's kind of been, I feel like that this week has all been reading and sleeping. Trying to catch up. No.
It's not a bad week.
Yeah.
Minus the having to go to work.
Yeah. Well, at least this week I only had one day in the office, so that was good. But yeah. How was yours?
Pretty good. Yeah. I mean, started my new job. So that was cool. And then
all new job things, all the processing and
training
bullshit.
Yeah, like let's keep you safe training and stuff like that. So yeah, I that minus all of that stuff, which is easy, you know, it's like mind numbing but easy. What did we do? Oh, we went to a Red Wings game.
Oh yeah.
Which for those of you who are maybe not sports, that is the Detroit Red Wings are a Major League Hockey team in Detroit, obviously. So we went to a game on Thursday. They played the Canadiens, and they won, which is nice because I've been to probably a dozen Red Wings games in my life, and I think I have gone to more losing games than winning games at this point. So it's always nice to go there and see a winning game.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thought it was funny though, because we were sitting there and Mike turned and looked at me. He's like, do we need season tickets? Is this something we want? And I was like,
yes.
Do you know how much season tickets are? I think it's like the cheapest season ticket is $5,400 a season. And I don't know if that's like a partial package where you get maybe like
15 games or something. 15
games, or if it's a full season. And I think the most expensive was like $17,000.
Good gracious.
Yeah, I hope that I'd like to entertain that just to see where that would put me, like how close to the ice, or what box do I get, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they're like, so do you want that? I'd be like, no, give me the 5,400 ones.
But the good thing about it is that you don't have to go to every game. You could sell the tickets. So like you can just at least have access to any game that you want to attend and then just sell the other ones. Right.
It would also be nice to just be like, I'm not doing anything tonight. You want to go to a Red Wings game and not have to really worry about finding a ticket, you know, like blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe. There's still time. It's still technically, it's the tail end of the 24-25 season.
Okay. So you have like time to buy them for next season.
Yeah. Basically, if I tried to do it now, I would be put on a wait list. Okay. So, which you have to pay to be put on the wait list. And then if you get picked, then you get that money goes to your tickets.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happens. And I think it depends on the type of contract and the type of team and like what it is. Like what happens to that money if you don't get picked?
Right.
Do you get it back? Or does it go to the team? Like
Right.
like, I don't know, maybe they just give you a ticket. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. So that's a good question. That's like before I just like throw out like $200, I'm like, what happens to this $200?
Yeah, I'm not just donating you $200.
Yeah. So that was a good time. I actually thought about wearing my Red Wings jersey just to be like, look at me. But then I was like, no, gym closed because I'm going to the gym. It's gonna happen. But
you had to manifest it.
Yes. Okay. So before that, we went downtown to eat, and we went to a place called Detroit Shipping Company. I don't know if I sent you a picture of the building.
You did.
Did I? Okay, so the building looks like it's made of shipping containers, which when I saw the name, I was like, why?
Oh, yeah, why is it called this?
This is a weird name. And then we got there and I was like, oh, this makes sense. Yeah. The building's made out of shipping containers, which is kind of a cool vibe. It was the type of food they have there. It's like food court style. So you go in and there's like a whole bunch of community tables, and then there's like a whole bunch of vendors that you can go buy food from. Okay. And it was pretty good. Me and Mike each went to separate places and bought a whole bunch of food so that way we could share. And I know I sent you that picture because I was like, we might have overdone this.
There was so much food on the table. I'll put a picture in here.
Yes, we did not coordinate what we were doing. So I bought, Mike got Thai, and then I got Nepalese. Okay. So like food from Nepal. Yes. So I hope I'm not butchering that. But it's all like street food. Yeah. So it was pretty good. Mike really enjoyed his Thai food. Okay. And then he got like some fried chicken street tacos that were like in those bao buns, those fluffy buns. And he really liked it. He was like, this is the best thing I've had all day or all week or whatever. And I was like, wait a second. I've cooked this week. And
don't say I cook like crap.
But I got the Nepalese food because I've never had it before. I've never heard of a place that I could get it anywhere living in Ohio. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna try this new stuff. I got like chow mein or something like that as my main course, but like I got their shtick is their they call them momos. Okay. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But they're like dumplings. Oh. Okay. And they had chicken, vegetable, and pork. And I got all three flavors.
All right. I feel like I know this about you, that you like dumplings.
Oh, I love dumplings. Yeah. I don't know why they're so good, but they are delicious. They're just little packages of delicious
of delightfulness.
I know.
Of packages of love? Is that what you said?
Maybe. Well, that's the secret ingredient.
Oh yes, of course.
So yes, I bought all three types, and out of the three, I liked the pork ones the best.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I was pretty happy with the food. The atmosphere was okay. It did kind of have like what is it? Like a cafeteria feel.
Oh, okay.
But it was just, it was nice to just go somewhere different and have the option to get different food and,
Yeah, I think it's helpful when you don't have to pick a type of food beforehand. You can literally, everybody that goes can have their own type of food that they want. Right. I feel like that makes it easier.
Yeah, so there was a couple other places. There was I think there was like a Chinese restaurant, maybe not Chinese, but then there was also like a burger place. Okay. There was a bar, like a full bar that you could go to. And then upstairs they had, which I was really excited about, they had an ice cream place where they like make their ice cream with like their shtick is like liquid nitrogen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And they were closed.
Great.
And I was not the only person upset by this. Now, I didn't say anything, but I saw it was closed and I was like, well, that sucks. But there were a lot of people complaining.
Really?
Like, stopping people that work there to be like, why is this place not open? Why didn't you put it on your thing? Blah, blah, blah. And one lady was like, I don't know. I just work here. Like, we don't own that place. It's owned by a guy. We don't know why he's not here today. So, yeah, people were upset. You cannot keep ice cream.
That's right.
Detroiters, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. Did you do that right before the game?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's only like a half a mile from...
Oh, okay.
So we just parked and walked over.
Nice.
So it was nice. But
what a fun time.
Yeah, it was great. I ordered... What was it I do? Oh, yeah. One day Mike wasn't at home. He was working late, and so I ordered pho. And I love pho, so I was able to have that delicious, tasty soup. There's so much of it. It's just like a jug of broth. But the only reason I bring it up is because they had on the menu, I DoorDashed this, so they had on the menu Japanese cheesecake.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know if I've ever had Japanese cheesecake. Let's try this. It was not what I was expecting. Okay. It was like a sponge cake that was cheesecake flavored.
Okay.
So really dense.
Weird.
Kind of cheesecake flavored.
Okay.
I ate like a bite, and I gave a little bite to Remy, and then I think I'm gonna get some strawberries today and make like a strawberry shortcake with it. So
okay.
I think that's gonna be the plan.
All right. So is that not your snack this week then?
No, I'm gonna use dumplings. I just wanted to talk about it.
Good choice. So for my snack, I'm gonna go a little unconventional. My snack this week is going to be all the snacks.
Nice.
Because on Tuesday, I literally surrounded myself with all of the snacks. That was my goal on Tuesday, was to not eat real food, which I ended up eating real food because I was starving. But I ate like a whole bag of white cheddar popcorn. I ate Doritos, which I haven't had Doritos in probably like a year and a half. But
what flavor did you have?
I bought the spicy nacho ones.
Oh, wow.
And so I ate like half a bag of Doritos. I have some of these guys, the milk chocolate sea salt caramels.
Oh my gosh.
I ate some of those. My whole day on Tuesday was all about reading and eating as much as I could. So my snack this week is all the snacks.
Man, I'm sad that you thought of that first.
Sorry.
It's okay. If I would have known that was an option.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. I think you win snacks this week.
Yes. Great. And I've managed to hide this tub of sea salt caramels in my room too, so Tim hasn't had any.
Well,
hopefully they're gone before. Yes, hopefully they're gone before this episode comes out.
Or else he will know.
Yes.
Or it'll warn him, and now he's just going to be like,
right.
I really want a snack. I know where Vanessa keeps snacks.
Right, I need to search her room. Oh, yes. Yeah. Anyway, is it book time?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, you go first.
All right. So this week, not including
Breaking Dawn,
because I did not finish that.
Yes.
But I read 100 and some pages of that. So all my books are in addition to that.
Okay.
I have 3 books.
Oh, goodness.
I did it. I win. It was close. No. The only reason I had 3 books this week is because 2 of them are audiobooks.
Okay.
And these shelves behind me took like 3 hours each.
Oh, so while you were building, you were able to listen.
Right.
Makes sense.
I did a lot of driving this week, and I listened while I was like grocery shopping and, like stuff like that. So I feel like I had more time to listen, or I was actively trying to listen more. So I will say, before I start my books, I had made a promise to a friend of the pod a long time ago that during Valentine's week, I was only gonna read romance books.
You did.
And I didn't.
You didn't do it?
I forgot until last night. I was like doing some podcast stuff and I was like, fudge.
Well,
it's Valentine's Day week. And
okay, what about if you do it?
So hard.
What if you do it next week? For the week after Valentine's Day.
I might have to.
Okay.
Or friend of the bud, I'm just gonna sneak it in a secret week that you don't know about, and you're just gonna be listening one week and you're gonna be like,
you won't be ready.
Why is this all romance?
Yes, I like that plan better.
So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a secret romance week.
Okay.
I'm coming for you, friend of the pod. But so I have 3 books this week. One is a romance book, but by mistake.
Okay.
Okay. So the first book, long title, it's a history book. It's called 81 Days Below Zero.
Okay.
The incredible survival story of a World War II pilot in Alaska's frozen wilderness.
That is a wild title.
Such a long title. I listened to it. It is a history book. It was, I believe, I had to go back and check because I was like, man, did I pay money for this book? It was a Kindle Plus. So it was one of the ones that come with your subscription.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So triggers in this book, depression and suicidal thoughts. Okay. So anyway, so this one, during World War II, there's a guy, his name is Leon Crane. Okay. He is a pilot stationed in Alaska, and he flies test flights for the V-24 bombers out of Ladfield. So one day he goes up for a mission, and while they're flying around, they experience aircraft trouble. Now, what happens, a whole bunch of different things happen, and basically they go into like a spin, and they're able to like pull out of the spin, but while pulling out of the spin, they're like hurtling towards Earth at like 300 miles per hour. So they pull, like they say, eject. Everybody eject. So basically what happens is some of the crew gets out, some of them doesn't. Leon Crane is one of the ones that make it out of the aircraft. Okay. But when he lands, he can't find anybody. Okay. So anyway, he lands in the wilderness of Alaska. Everybody's been jumping out, but the plane's traveling at 300 miles an hour. So the difference between where one person ejects and another person ejects, because it's not like they're using seats, they're like jumping outdoors, is you're not in the same area as anybody. So the rest of the book is his journey from an unknown part of Alaska to him finding, he finds like a cabin, and he, has to do some outdoor survival stuff, and he basically walks like 180 miles or something to where he finally finds like a cabin in the woods that has people in it. And that guy's house, he's a fur trader. Anyway, that's about 30 miles away from the closest town called Woodcutter, Alaska. And so like that, his whole journey to get from like where his plane crashed back to Ladfield, it's intense. Like I think he was out there for like a total of like 81 days, obviously by the title of the book. Right. So, my thoughts on this book. It was an interesting book.
Did he write it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So it was going to be something that
Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's a good segue. So he, I guess, never really talked about it. Okay. I guess he had some survivor's guilt because it ended up being he was the only one who came back from that plane crash. Okay. So he never really talked about it. I mean, he talked a little bit about it on like radio broadcasts and, you know, like stuff like that. But I don't think he ever really had like a deep conversation about it with anybody in like a media perspective. So this book is based off of all of those interviews and diaries and stuff like that. Not much else.
Okay. So like official documentation about it, not necessarily.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So because of that, not a lot of this book is based on Leon Crane's experiences in the wild.
Oh, okay.
It's like all of the experience stuff was stuff that he apparently learned from interviews with the guy, right? Okay. So it wasn't like he found his diary and like, or a journal, whatever men use to write down their thoughts.
A man journal.
I don't think he kept one, or one was not available. So it's just kind of like, it's brief snippets of like what happened to him, interspersed with like things like, oh, Woodcutter, Alaska is a city in Alaska that has at the time 300 people, and this is why it started. And just like history of other people that he meets. So like that family that he met in the cabin, there's like a chapter about the history of why they're there. They are there. There is like a chapter that I found interesting, was like they talked about how they found like the aircraft later and did some like forensics and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool.
Okay.
So a lot of it is supporting info. Okay. I really enjoy history, so I don't mind all the extra info. Like I kind of, you know, like, all right, I'll listen to you tell me about the forensics of, you know, when you find stuff out in the wild and you assume it's going to be like Air Force history related, or whatever. But because so much of it is that, if you're not expecting that, like you're going into the book title and the book description doesn't say anything about anything else. Right. It just says, this is his journey. Right. So when it started going off on tangents, I was like, what is going on?
Right.
So I would say Leon's story is probably only like 25% of the book.
Okay.
It's not that much.
All right.
So definitely don't spend the money on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the book's pretty short. I think it at 1.4 or 1.3 speed that I was listening to, I think it came out to about 6 hours.
Okay.
So
okay,
it's not it's not a bad thing to listen to for 6 hours. Other thoughts. I know I'm saying this from my comfy house and this comfy chair. I did question some of Leon's decision making. And this, like when he was decided, like, I'm gonna leave this cabin and I'm gonna walk on an ice covered river and like stuff like that. I was like, man, I understand where your head's at, my man, but like the third time you fall through the ice, I'm like, come on, dude.
Right. What are you doing?
Do we still need to be walking on this river?
Right.
So yeah, it was an interesting book. I did do some wikiing after the book. Usually I don't, but there is a picture of the aircraft crash on Wikipedia.
Okay.
That was why I wanted to go look around, because I wanted to see if I could find a picture of like the remains of the aircraft. But if you go to the Wikipedia page, it pretty much sums up the book.
Okay.
So be careful. Don't do some extra reading if you plan to listen to the book. It's an interesting story.
Okay.
Because it was free, I don't really mind. But I don't know how I would feel if I would have paid for it.
Right. Yeah.
So I actually rated this 2.5, like a true 2.5.
Okay.
But I rounded up to 3. So 3 pork dumplings.
Okay.
Momos.
Okay. So before you move on to your second book, this story kind of reminds me of a story that I've heard of before. it's not military related or anything, but it is about a girl who survives like being out in whatever in her case, she's out in the Amazon rainforest after a plane crash. So the crash happened in 1971. She was 16 years old, I think. And she was only out in the rainforest for 11 days or something like that, but it's the Amazon rainforest.
It's still a lot of days.
Yeah, that's crazy. So her name is Juliane Koepcke, I think. I'll put a link in the whatever. I'll put a link in the description. You know what I'm saying? And the book that she wrote is called When I Fell from the Sky. And just so I've listened to podcasts about this before, and it's fucking amazing what she went through while she was going through all of that. And it's very detailed. Like you get all of the information of what she was doing in all of those 11 days. So I would recommend that. I've never actually read her book, but I feel like I know the story well enough because I've listened to like multiple podcasts about it. But I would recommend that one if you're interested in anything like that.
Yeah, man, any survival story like that is definitely, I don't know. I guess I always choose to err on the side of not caution, I guess. Right. I don't know what's the correct way, because I'm always like, oh, I'll give it a chance.
Right.
Because usually they're just at least nuggets of crazy.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Just because the amount, going back, like the amount of people who like crashed over like Alaska, just specifically Alaska,
right.
The number of aircraft that crashed over Alaska and just didn't make it is ridiculously large. Yep. So the fact that there are stories out there of people who make it,
yep,
whether it's Alaska, rainforest,
right, anywhere,
is, pretty nuts.
Yep, agreed.
I think I prefer those stories over the ones of like exploration where they like went there themselves. They're like made that decision.
Yeah.
No, I want the ones where you weren't prepared.
Yeah. This one that she was on was a commercial flight. Her and her mom were flying back to her dad. They were out somewhere on vacation or something like that for school, and then they were flying back home. Yeah. It's crazy. I would definitely recommend that story. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So my second book is called, it's another long title. Get ready for this. It is called Rogue Heroes, the history of the SAS, Britain's secret special forces unit that sabotaged the Nazis and changed the nature of the war.
Good Lord. How did they fit all that on the front of the book?
Well, when you put it up here, you will see. It's like Rogue Heroes.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like a tiny little like bang blurb box, I guess, of like all the names. So I also listened to this book. It is a history book. You could probably tell from the title. It's 1941. British troops are in Africa and they're trying to push back Rommel and German forces. So cue stage left, introducing David Sterling. He is a Scottish officer who I got from the description of the book. He is not very good at soldiering.
Okay.
In fact, in the beginning of the book, it's like the story of him. He meets like a friend of his. And he's like, I'm starting this thing, this group. And he's like, we're going to go parachute out of an airplane. And Sterling's like, I'll go. And
okay.
He parachutes out of the airplane and something happens with his parachute where I think like the line that pulls the parachute out breaks.
Okay.
And I could be thinking, because this happens so many times in this book, parachuting was not very safe back then. I'm taking it from this book.
Yeah.
But basically he lands harder than he should have.
Okay.
So he lives, but he has like spinal contusions that are so bad that he ends up in the hospital, and he just, he has problems on and off for the rest of his life because of that.
Okay.
But while he's in the hospital recovering, he comes up with this idea where they should do like a hit and run style type of warfare. But basically the targets are behind enemy lines. So the idea there being that these types of raids would cause confusion by the enemy and force them to take resources from like the front line and reinforce like other stuff, like back behind enemy line style stuff. So the thought process is you're taking away, stuff from the front lines, making it easier for British troops to advance because there's not as much up there.
All right.
And so begins the story of the SAS.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot going on in this book. It spans like a couple years from 1941. Yeah, so it spans from like 1941 until the end of the war. And so there's a lot going on in those few years. Thoughts on the book. It's read by the author.
Okay.
So that was nice. I enjoyed that. Lots of accents that I cannot duplicate here.
Great.
So I picked this book because it's also a BBC TV series.
You're checking off one of the things.
Yes, so I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I need to figure out how to watch it because it's like BBC One and MGM Plus or something like that. So I need to figure out how to watch this. I should have thought of that before. But yeah, I'm excited to watch the TV show, which I'll get into why in a second. But the book itself was good. The history is really interesting. The beginning is really slow. So if you're listening to it or reading it, after the first like quarter of the book, it really picks up.
Okay.
But I say that only because the first quarter of the book, I was kind of like, do I want to finish this? Do I want to keep reading or listening? But it does turn out really good. The book has like good old boy club vibes.
All right.
It's like, I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to recruit all of my friends. You know what I mean? I think Ben Macintyre does a good job of highlighting like some of the main players of the book, like their personalities and their flaws and stuff like that. But good Lord, is there a lot of people in this book?
Oh no.
So many people.
That makes it hard.
And they're doing all these different things and they're splitting up and doing these different raids. At one point, they're in like 7 different spots. And I was like, dude, without a map, I have no clue where you guys are. I know maybe 3. So,
okay.
Like I was saying, I really appreciate how good of a job Ben Macintyre did on what he thought, like describing some of the main characters, like I said, their flaws, like stuff like that. And the only reason I say this is because some of them have like very questionable morals, I guess, if you want to say, or flaws, just because, they're still people. Not every person is a good person. But the only reason I bring this up as an interest is because I want to see if that's captured in the TV show.
Okay.
There's a couple parts in the books where some of the things that they did, I was like, man, that's kind of shady. Or that's fucked up or whatever. Yeah. And I'd really like to see if that's captured in the TV show or if that's glossed over.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I bring it up.
All right.
It's still a really good read. But like I said, it does get kind of, on this date, we went to this place, and here's like a story, and there was 7 other places, and this is what everybody's doing. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because I listened to it, I don't know if the book comes with like a map.
Oh, okay.
I would have liked to see one.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough for while I was listening to, because like I said, I was doing it while I was building a bookshelf cleaning or driving. Like, I'm not going to stop and look at my phone and be like, where are you? Where are they? So I rated it 3.5, but I rounded down to 3.
Okay.
So better than half, but I still have to round down.
Okay.
A soft 3.5.
Soft 3.5. All right.
Soft 3.5 dumplings.
Okay.
Okay. My last book, the romance book. Mm-hmm. This is called The Fortune Teller of Kathmandu.
Okay.
There's no more title. That's it.
Okay, good. Can I tell you something real fast? I have a book on my TBR that I'm going to be reading, like I want to read soon, and it has Fortune Teller in the title. And every time I looked at your Goodreads this week, I was like, did we read the same thing? And I was like, no, it's a different book. Every time it got me.
Dang it. I know she ain't reading that many books with Fortune Teller in this.
No.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. So this one is, like I said, Fortune Teller of Kathmandu. Mm-hmm. It is by Bennett. It is a Kindle Unlimited, and this is a historical fiction romance.
Okay.
Just as a side note, this is actually book like 7 of 8.
Okay.
I did not want to read the other ones.
Okay.
And because they're not dependent on each other, I chose not to.
Okay. They can live on their own.
Right.
Okay.
I saw this one. It came up in like my suggested, and I saw that there was like 8 other books, and I was like, oh, do I need to start at the beginning? Mm-hmm. So I like went and looked, and I'm like, nope, they can be read in any order.
Great.
So I read all of the descriptions, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested. Back to this one.
All right.
So I have only read this book.
Okay.
By Bennett. But it follows 2 main story arcs. Mm-hmm. The first one, they're intermixed. It's like one and then the other and one and the other. Okay. Sometimes in the same chapter. But the first one, it's like 2015. There's a girl, her name is Chloe, and her grandmother has just passed away. So she's dealing with that, and a stranger, a person she doesn't know, this older lady, comes up to her and gives her her grandmother's wartime journal. And she was like, hey, I've been keeping this for your grandmother, but I think you should have it.
That's quite awesome.
Yeah. So Chloe begins to read it, and she finds out a lot about her grandmother during the wartime. Mm-hmm. That she's never been told because her grandmother was pretty closed-lipped about her previous life.
Okay.
And so it just becomes like a journey of like personal discovery. Mm-hmm. Because while she's reading it, she decides that she's going to go visit the places that her grandmother talks about in her journal.
That sounds really cool. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the second storyline arc, it's 1943. And it's told from Lena's point of view through diary entries, and Lena is the grandmother.
Okay.
So it starts with her life as a boarding school teacher, and then she gets a job with the British Indian Army as an assistant to Lieutenant George Harper. He is a recruitment officer, basically. And also he has a secret.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. So while they're out doing recruitment stuff, they visit Kathmandu, and she does a little sightseeing, and she ends up meeting a fortune teller, mm-hmm. Who gives her some, I guess, bad news, or just news in the fact that her close friend, who is going to need her help soon, and she needs to warn him that he will be betrayed.
Okay.
So, she takes that to heart, and she ends up joining what they call the WASPies, which is the Women's Auxiliary Service Burma.
Okay.
And she joins this group so she can get to the front lines in Burma, because that's where her friend is, and she wants to try to help him.
Okay.
Give him the warning from the fortune teller.
Mm-hmm.
So, thoughts on the book? The book is good.
Okay.
I enjoyed the book. I was less interested in Chloe's story arc. It's just not as connected to her character. Also, obviously out of the two stories, hers is kind of the less interesting one.
Right.
She also has a love interest in this book, but I didn't really feel that like enough time was devoted to like creating the love interest, if that makes sense. It was almost just like a plot point, like all of their getting to know you romance part and like things that would develop into a romance are kind of just like done off page and then mentioned later. So it's like, we talked for hours. Like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So not that this is important.
Okay.
But in her story arc, there is some stuff that happens that advances the story, so I don't really want to tell what it is. But I had to fact check these because I was like, did this really happen? Because that's, interesting.
Yeah.
But a couple of them they were close, very close, within like the day, right?
Okay.
It was just maybe like a timing. I would say some liberties were taken, but it isn't so much that you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's a historical fiction. I give more leniency to that than like a true history book. Like, I don't give me lenient,
right. Yeah.
Liberties with facts, but for the book, I don't care if it's, dates or times are smudged by a little or something like that. So I was happy to see that stuff was true.
Okay.
But anyway, so I did enjoy like the second one, Lena's storyline. I liked that it was told from a diary perspective. I enjoyed that trope. The secret, I guessed.
Okay.
It was really easy to guess once you get into the book. And then her storyline with like what's going to happen to her was just really easy to tell what was going to happen.
Okay.
Like, there wasn't any surprise. Like, as it's going through, I was like, yep, that's about how I expected this to go.
Okay.
But I still enjoyed reading about it. I thought it was a really good book.
Okay.
So, I didn't really know how to rate this one, but I would say at least 3.5 rounded up to 4 dumplings. Okay. So great. I guess 4 dumplings.
Excellent.
Yes.
So as you were explaining that, it sounds, so it's been a while since I read this book, but it sounds so similar to Rebecca Yarros's The Things We Leave Unfinished.
Really?
Yes. I obviously haven't read the book that you just said. What was the name of it again?
The Fortune Teller of Kathmandu.
Yeah. So I haven't read that one, so I can't tell you exactly. But based on your description, there's a granddaughter and a grandmother. The grandmother is telling her story through books. I think she's an author. And so it's kind of the same thing, but it's all during wartime. And the girl now has a love interest who I didn't care about. Nice. Like, their love interest is very like not as built up like you were saying with yours, right? So it was like, okay, I guess we got here, but how? There's so many things that sound very, very similar. I would be interested if you ever found yourself reading The Things We Leave Unfinished to see how close they are. But I loved that book. I loved Grandma's point of view much more than the girls' like now time point of view. So yeah, I would be interested because they sound very similar.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. So now into another Rebecca Yarros book.
Oh, wow. You don't say.
So I will tell you, I was gonna do I was always gonna do Onyx Storm today, but if you only had 2 books, I was gonna do another one. But since you had 3, I'm only gonna do Onyx Storm.
What?
So I'm saving.
I didn't know that was an option.
So I'm saving one of the ones that I had. Okay, so before we get into Onyx Storm, there are going to be spoilers for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. So keep that in mind. And then I will let you know before we get into any spoilers for Onyx Storm so that everyone can go away if you need to.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little quick recap thingy for Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, where the spoilers are going to come in. So then we'll get into Onyx Storm. All right, Fourth Wing. We're entering Basgiath War College. Maybe on my sweater. In the Rider quadrant. Obviously, she crosses the parapet. I hate that word. Every time I see that word, I'm just like, what is this word?
Okay. And how do I say it?
Yes, parapet. Oh, hold on. I'm going to take a quick little tangent. It's funny that you say, how do I say it? Because my mother-in-law, she listens to these books while I read them. And there's many times where like I'll see a word and I'm like, how is this said? And so I'll text it to her and she'll be able to tell me how it's pronounced. And then on her side, she will hear a word and she's like, how is this spelled? And so then I can send it back to her. So we've got a little thing going on with these books.
Nice.
Okay, so Violet goes in, she crosses the parapet, she joins the first year ranks. Obviously, Fourth Wing is all about her making it through the year. She's bonds with her two dragons, Tarn and Andarna, and she learns that her signet or her magic is lightning. We learn that Xaden is leading the revolution with the other marked ones, and the marked ones are all the ones whose parents were killed in the last revolution, and so now the kids are all marked to show that their parents were part of the revolution. And in this book, Violet learns about these creatures called Venin, and the Venin are basically the soulless magic wielders. They're the ones who have pulled magic from the earth, and it basically eats their soul to do that. And the government is hiding the truth of these creatures from the people. And then at the end, they ultimately have a battle. In this battle is when the first time that's when she learns about the Venin, and she like kills Venin, and they learn how to kill them and like all that kind of stuff. But some of her friends die in this battle. So in that battle, she's hurt, and the book kind of ends on a point where she is trying to recover from that. Iron Flame basically picks off right at the end of Fourth Wing, so she's recovering. We're in the Ryerson house, which is Xaden's family's home, where the revolution has their headquarters. Violet learns that her brother is alive, who she has thought has been dead for a few years. And so after she heals and like all that kind of stuff, her brother is a healer. So she heals. She makes it back to Basgiath. She is learning all the second year things, like just back to school, basically. Xaden is stationed out in the world, so they see each other like every other week or whatever, because their dragons are mated and they have to. They can't be apart from each other. Shit happens. And ultimately, it's revealed to everyone, all the public, that Venin are a thing, and that Venin are trying to come in and attack Basgiath and the whole continent, basically. They ultimately pick anybody who wants to go be part of the revolution. Xaden and Violet take them back to where the Ryerson house is at, and they start training them there. Finally, there's a battle. The whole reason why I wanted to say like some of this background stuff is because ultimately it leads into what Onyx Storm is about. So at the end of Iron Flame, there's a final battle where they fight the Venin and the Wyverns, which is the creatures that they basically ride. They go to Basgiath. They need to go and protect the wards that are there that protect the whole everything. And it ends on a major cliffhanger, because at the very end of the book, we find out that the only way that Xaden could defeat the Venin is for him to become Venin himself. So he pulls magic from the ground to be able to, because he doesn't have enough magic on his own to defeat the sage, who's like one of the leaders of the Venin. So that cliffhanger is what we've been living with for the last year and a half.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, Xaden turning Venin and none of us knowing what the hell is going to happen in Onyx Storm. Like, are we gonna whatever? So another thing. In Iron Flame, we also learned that Andarna is a special 7th kind of dragon. They haven't existed in the human world at all for like hundreds of years. And they are required, the 7th kind of dragon is required to build up the wards. So if you don't have one of these 7th dragons, then your wards are never going to be up. And each dragon can only be used once in a ward. So
they don't kill the dragon, right?
No, you don't kill it, but their fire is required to like ignite that specific ward, and once their fire is used, they can't be used to ignite another one. So
I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so and that's really all they know. They just know that Andarna exists. They haven't seen any other ones or whatever. So Onyx Storm picks up pretty close to the end of Iron Flame. I think it's like a week or two later. So we're still at Vescaeth. The war just ended, or this battle just ended. Xaden is at the lowest level of Venin right now. So there's basically like steps to being Venin. And if you like take a little bit of magic one time, then like it affects you. There's things that are happening, but at this point they don't know if it can be reversed or anything like that. And then every time beyond that, if you keep using the magic from the earth or the world or whatever, from other things other than your dragon, then obviously you start going up and up. You start losing more and more of your soul. So right now he's at like the bottom. The whole book basically follows them trying to find a cure for Xaden, and without people knowing about him. So there's only like a handful of people that know that he has done this. Yeah. Okay. So it's all about like trying to find a cure and also trying to find more of Andarna's family. Because Andarna wants, one, they need more of her kind to build up more wards, and two, Andarna really wants to figure out her power, because none of the other dragons and people and all that can help her, because she is her own kind of dragon, like very special, and so they don't really have answers that she's looking for. So they spend the whole book like trying to find other, they call them iridescent dragons, to see if they can find help. In this book, we learn Violet's second signet, as well as some other people's second signet. So what we've kind of learned, I guess this is like a mild spoiler, but I think we've learned a lot about it in Iron Flame. But we know that all of the marked ones have 2 signets. However, they only present 1. Like, they don't let other people know that they have 2. So
how did they get 2?
So it's never been fully said, but the theory is that because how they were marked after their parents were killed is through dragonfire. So the idea or the theory is that once they were hit with that dragonfire, it gave them powers to have 2 signets. That's the idea, I think. And then for Violet, it's kind of because she was bonded to 2 dragons that she would have 2 signets. So her second signet manifests. In this book, we learn about some other locations that we haven't seen yet. So it's kind of like a world building book, which is interesting to be a 3rd book, but it's very world building. And then we learn more about Violet's dad and his research as a scribe and stuff. So, so overall, my thoughts. This is where we might get a little spoilery, but I will tell you again before I say anything super spoilery. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I will say that something that I experienced, which I have seen online too, that everyone is experiencing, is the first like few chapters. I was like, who the fuck are these people that we're talking about? And it was like, literally, I just finished Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. And so I was like, I should know all of these characters, but there is just so many that it's hard to keep track of. And one thing that I think Rebecca does not do well in this book is that she doesn't stay consistent with what she calls them. And so if you're constantly calling Imogen, then I'm like, cool, I know who she is. But when you call her by her last name, I'm like, who the fuck is that name? Yeah. I don't remember her last name is. I think it's like Carullo or something. Now I think I know that. But I was like, who is this? And then also trying to keep track of whose dragon's name belongs to who was, it was horrible. Like anytime she would say a dragon name, she was like, oh, this dragon just flew by with their rider on. And I was like, who is their rider? I don't know who that name is. I only know 3 dragons, and that is Violet's 2 dragons and Xaden's 1. Those names, I got them. Everyone else's dragon, couldn't tell you.
Right. Well, how hard is it to be like, oh, there's George the dragon with Imogen.
Yes, exactly.
Like whatever.
Exactly. So that was definitely difficult. Like I struggled for a while. At some point I was just like, I'm going to move. I'm just going to keep going and see where it takes me. So overall, I really enjoyed it. I liked being back into the world with new stuff happening. It was interesting and fun to see like what was going on with Xaden, and like obviously after that cliffhanger it was like, I need to know, is he like completely done? And so a small cliffhanger answer is no, he's not. Like he's still active in this book. He's still like, he's not just like, oh, I'm dead.
Right. Okay.
So he's actively a part of everything in this book. So we got a lot more of side characters in this book, which was great. So they have Riddick is fantastic, and he calls their little side quest the Quest Crew, I think, or the Quest something, I can't remember, but it's the little group of people that goes off to try to find like the cure and Andarna's people and like all that kind of stuff, and they're visiting all these other isles that we haven't seen yet, and Riddick is part of it, and I'm pretty sure he carries this book. Everything he says is hilarious. There's even one part where it breaks the fourth wall a little bit, where Riddick is like laughing at them and making fun of Violet and Xaden in ways that we have seen other people do in reviews like throughout the last couple of years. Nice. And so that was really fun. Just everything about Riddick is fantastic, and he has to live forever. Okay.
You hear that, Rebecca?
Yes. We got a little bit more with the Iron Squad, which is like their squad from the very beginning of from Fourth Wing of when you're at Basgiath College. If your crew, if you have the most people survive at the end of the year, you're known as the Iron Squad. And so
nice.
Yeah. So this little Iron Squad of Violets is like still the biggest surviving crew, and so you get more of their squad, which is really, really fun. We got some more of Kat, who is the one who's Xaden's ex that we got a lot of jealousy from in book 2, and it was just whatever. I still don't care about her, but I don't like really have a lot of feelings. This book felt a little bit like a filler book to me, which I guess makes sense if you're thinking of it as a book 3 of 5. But it did, like, a lot of stuff happens, but not a lot of it feels like something. Like, it just feels like, here's some information for us to move forward later.
You think it's like just filler, or like foreshadowing?
I think it's both. I think
Okay.
it's filler, just like here's some underlying information for us to get some big information later, like stuff with her dad, stuff with Xaden,
Okay.
stuff like that. And then I think there is a lot of foreshadowing stuff with her dad, stuff with like all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I can appreciate that only because I know I've said this before. Like, I very much dislike in fantasy books when you get to the end of the book and you're like, here's a magical thing that can happen,
right,
but I've never explained it before.
Exactly.
So I can appreciate that if it's like,
you're right.
Where have I heard that?
I think that might be what this is. It's giving some of that background information. So when something big happens in 4 and 5, we're not just like, why are we now able to do that? We can look back at book 3 and be like, oh,
there was a hint in there.
It was there was an explanation there. So I don't know. I feel like this one raised more questions than it did answer anything. Which again, I think it makes sense being book 3 of 5, but it does end on a cliffhanger, but
again?
Yes.
Is it another battle?
Yes, it was a battle. But it didn't feel as, oh my god, cliffhanger as Iron Flame was. It felt like slightly predictable, but like predictable with a twist.
Okay.
So there's that. I'm very interested in how it plays out, even though it wasn't as shocking as Iron Flame. When I finished Iron Flame, I literally stared at the book with my mouth open for like 2 minutes and was like, what the fuck is happening? And in Onyx Storm, I was just like, all right.
All right. Well,
yes.
Closed book.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers because I'm going to go into some theories. And so warning.
Good. I have a theory question.
Okay,
so
good.
You go first though.
Okay,
because you might. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to give everybody a minute. Just if you don't want anything that's spoilery, get out now. Skip ahead. I will have a thing in the description of the timestamps. Okay, so I think Violet has more than 2 signets.
Okay.
I think there's much more to her story. The second signet that we learn that she has is dream walking.
Okay.
And we got a little bit of it. So all of this comes from Rebecca being like, you've already seen her signet. Like it was hinted at in Iron Flame. It's very easy to spot. Like, you guys should already know this. And then it comes out as dream walking, and it's because she keeps having these recurring dreams of fighting the sage. But it turns out, we find in Onyx Storm that it's actually Xaden having the dream, and she is watching it. Like, she is in the dream. And then once they realize that she's doing it, she's able to then disconnect, because she was kind of seeing it in first person. And so once she was able to realize that she was dream walking, she was able to disconnect and actually see that it was Xaden and the sage and whatever. But I think I don't think she's dream walking. I think she is I don't even know how to say it. I think she's pushing her consciousness or whatever into, I think she can mind walk. There we go. That's a better way to say it. Because I think that it's happening even when she's awake. She just doesn't realize it. Because there's like multiple times in this book where somebody answers her when she didn't say anything out loud. And she also didn't say it through the bond that she has with her dragons and Xaden. It's like other people saying things. And I think she's trying to throw us off because it was mostly like Andarna answering her or Xaden. And so it's easy to be like, oh, she accidentally sent it down the bond. But I don't think it's true. I think she can I think she can put herself into other people's minds. I also think that she's super, super powerful. I do not think that she has just the lightning signet or this new other signet. I think she's all powerful. I think she has everything. I think it's just manifesting itself as lightning right now.
Okay.
Because big spoiler, there is a spot in the isles that they're visiting don't have magic.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody who's there, like their dragons can't use magic. They can't, like nobody can use magic because these are all like non-magical places. And she, in a time of high stress, lightning happens. And somebody asks her, like, how did you do that? And she's like, I didn't do it. She's playing like denial, or like she's like, it wasn't me or whatever. It was just coincidence. I think it was her. So I think she's like super, super powerful in some way that's like, I don't know. I don't know if she's part something, but part something that makes her more powerful. There's also something that happens, like it's mentioned a lot, is scent. And I don't know how that would relay itself into a signet, but there's like random things throughout the book where I was like, why is this an important thing to say right now? Like she can smell something on the pillow. She can smell parchment from her bracelet. She can smell like something is happening. And I don't know what it is, but it's just a theory that there's something related to that.
It feels like it might be important for something later.
Yes, because it's mentioned like 3 or 4 different times in situations where I was like, why would we even bring that up? I think those are all my theories for right now.
Okay. Can I ask, I don't know if it's a theory or a question.
Okay.
Maybe it's a question.
Yes.
Better question. So the dragons bond and you get their special power or whatever.
So kind of.
Right. Okay. So
your power
ignoring okay.
Your power is manifested in whatever you need. The dragon just supplies the power to you. So the same dragon can bond different people, and each of those people would have a different.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like Taryn's old rider didn't have lightning. He had something else, right? So
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So because her dragon is bonded to his dragon, I know that doesn't mean that they have to date.
Right.
But what happens when Andarna gets a mate? Like, is she gonna get a mate in 4 or 5? Like, and now there's gonna be like another love interest because now she has like 2 dragons and they each have hot men. Like, what happens?
Well, okay, so first her mate would have to bond a rider, right? So Violet could be linked to Andarna's mate through the bond, like the mind bond, but it wouldn't matter until that dragon bonded a human, right? And then she would be able to talk to him. But yeah, I don't think it makes them a love interest. I think it makes it easy for them to in battles. Like it would be the 3 of them together in a battle would be unstoppable. Because each of them could like talk to each other through Violet.
You think that those 2 would be able to talk to each other?
No,
too?
I don't think Zayden
so
and him
just
would.
like reply.
Yes.
Like, ugh, that sounds exhausting.
Yes, so there's that possibility. Also, what if the other dragon comes in and is like, hey, Andarna's mate bonds with Zayden, and then they're just like 2 people with 4 dragons.
I guess that's okay. Well, I guess if you can I guess that makes sense because she has 2 dragons, so I guess Zayden could have 2 dragons too. So, and it would be the same 2 dragons.
Yeah.
So I guess that, but still, Rebecca, no.
Yeah, right. We don't want a love triangle.
We don't need a love triangle.
No.
That was a thought.
So I've been seeing some theories online. People have been saying, so Violet mentioned a couple of times that she was like nauseous and like stuff like that. And they're like, oh my God, is she pregnant? Please, Rebecca, please don't make her pregnant. Like, I will fucking roll over and die if you make her pregnant. I think all of the anxiousness or nauseousness and stuff like that, Rebecca did say that she brought in more symptoms of her having POTS. And so I think some of it is that, and just like overall exhaustion of her like pushing herself to the limit of using magic and like all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's that if it's pregnancy, I might have to drop out.
Well, I mean, if it is, that makes sense, because didn't they say Andarna's so tiny? Well, what if their kid grows up and bonds with Andarna, and they could be a child rider?
So she's bigger now. You haven't gotten through.
I stopped.
So she now. So the last you saw her, she was like a gold baby, right? Mm-hmm. So now she is like a camouflaged, like a chameleon, a teenager. So she's not like massive, but she's she can change. That's why they call them iridescents, because she can literally change herself to look however she wants.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a weird, because camouflage or chameleon sounds better, but because when somebody says iridescent, I just imagine like shiny rainbow.
Right.
So well, I think that's why that'd be cute.
Because I think that's what she would look like in her natural state, is that she's like a she's got like a shimmery goldenness to her, but she's like all the colors, but she likes to make herself have black scales because she likes to look like Taryn. And so more often than not you see her as black, but she can hide anywhere. Like at one point she hides in like the shadows and makes herself black. There's one point she I think she hides in the trees, so she makes herself like green or whatever. Like she can make herself however she wants to be. So
that's adorable.
Andarna is so adorable. She's so cute. Yeah. So anyways, this one was a little bit more because I got into theories, but I have been doing nothing but looking online at people's theories. And I'm so excited. Some of them I'm like, yes, this makes sense. Some of them I'm like, I don't believe that one. And then, so my last theory, it ends with, massive spoiler, sorry. It ends with the battle being ended because Xaden pulls much more power to end this battle. And so he's like...
It's a slippery slope, man.
I'm sure full 5 levels into Venom now. But he looks across the field and he sees someone who also pulled, and he calls him his brother. So it's like a possibility of like 2 or 3 different people that it could be, but it ends there. Like we don't know who it is. And so my theory right now for everyone is that it's Bodhi, his cousin. And it's sad because so there's people who are guessing like all these different people, but he specifically says this person that watched me deal with this for the last 5 months, and there's only like 3 people or whatever that knew that he's been Venom for the last 5 months, and then calls him brother. And yeah, I think it's Bodhi, and it's really sad.
So like when you go like full soulless, like what happens?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we seriously haven't. We don't know. So throughout the book, you kind of you get little tidbits, and they say like this one Venom lady, she tells Violet that people who are Venom can't feel love because they don't really have a soul. And so but I don't think that I think Xaden did something to make himself still be able to feel love, but like pulled power. I don't know. I think they're good. I think they're fine. If anything, I think Violet would turn Venom just to be with him. Like, I think there's something like they're not gonna go away.
Yeah, or her secret power is something like you can pull souls back from the earth, or I don't know.
That's actually one of the theories that I've seen that I'm not totally against. That I think that she can return magic back into the whatever to create balance. Okay. I think that there might be something there. Yeah. Okay, the end.
Before we go too deep, because this is a long episode.
I know. We should have known Onyx Storm was going to be a long one.
That's true.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, this is all about DNFing. Do you like to DNF? Do you hate DNFing? Is there like a specific page number or whatever that you make yourself hit before you stop? Like, give me all your DNF things.
Okay. I am pro DNF.
Same.
I don't know. I'll give a book a shot. Like I know you mentioned the page count. I've done it a couple different ways. Every year, I guess it's a little bit different. Like last year, I was like, historically, I've done like, okay, I'll give it to 100 pages. If I'm not in the book in 100 pages and I don't feel like I'm going to get there, then I'll just stop.
Yeah.
And then last year, I tried this thing where I was like, I won't commit to the DNF. I'll put it in like I'll shelve it and maybe come back to it later.
Right.
I ended up just DNFing like 30 books at the end of the year.
Right.
So that did not work.
No.
So I guess I'm just back to the page count where if I get to 100 pages and I'm not in it, then I gave it my best college effort.
Right.
Usually most books that I'm reading are in the 300 to 400 range. So 25 to 30% of the book,
right,
I feel is pretty fair.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that I've never given it like super thought, like to where I said I am doing this many pages, but I think moving forward I'm going to do that. Like at least I like to give it at least something, like some significant amount, and I think 100 pages is a good number. However, I will say there's probably at least 2 or 3 books in the last year that I gave it to like 30 pages.
No.
Yeah, 20 or 30 pages, and I just knew. And so for those, I didn't even count them as DNFs. I just count them as like, I didn't start this book.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much how I end up going about it. And I found that's the best.
Yeah.
My sister 2 years ago now, I think, she did a thing where her goal was to not DNF a book all year, and she did not like that.
No, that does not sound that it just sounds like you're putting yourself in like in a bad spot, right? Like you're just unhappiness.
Yeah, so I'm actually having lunch with her today. I might ask her how many books she read that year, because my thought is if you are not enjoying a book, you're not going to read as many books because you're just trying to slug through.
Yeah, that's true.
A book that you don't want to. And I guess side note for most listeners, my sister finishes more books than I do a year because she's a welder, and so she's able to just like put in her ears and just like listen to books all day. So she probably finishes, I don't know, I can't remember what she had last year, but she had like 20 or 30 books more than I did last year. And even with her DNFs. So, yeah, I might ask her today if that like influenced how many books she finished.
Yeah.
As if she was just like,
did it hinder it? Yeah.
Right. But I don't know, maybe not if most of you, because I know most of her, I don't know what her percentage is, but I know a lot of her books are audiobooks. So, I mean, if you're just listening to it, it's probably easier to slog through than if you're forcing yourself to read it.
Right.
So
to sit there and like focus on the words. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So. All right. Well, I think that this year I'm going to focus on that for sure. Like the 100 pages, for sure I'm going to give it if I'm still not in it by then. Although I still am going to make the decision early if I already know. If I just know it, I'll just say did not start this book. It doesn't get anything.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to hear if any of our listeners have like a different method. Because I'm open to trying anything. Right. But I just haven't really found anything better than just like 100 page.
Yep. I think that's fair. All right. That's it. The end. Go and give us 5 stars, please. give us comments, give us emails, give us all the things. Share all of your thoughts and feelings with us.
Yes.
And we appreciate it. And thank you for listening. And bye.
Goodbye. Go on. Get out of here.
Get out of here.